secret here. The battery is strictly a storage cell. Something has happened to the alternator on these race cars, which is located right here on the Ford Cutaway car. Now, some of the guys may be running the big alternator, which looks a little bit like this when it's off the car. This alternator actually puts out more voltage than its smaller counterpart, which is run a lot of time on a bigger racetrack. Like maybe here in Texas, some of the guys are trying to make more horsepower and not produce as much voltage back in the battery, and it may be getting them in trouble. If this alternator goes out, eventually the battery will run down, and that can create a problem, which we're seeing with several of the cars. And to add to that, the 42 car, if he has to come in on a pit stop and make a change, it will take about 1 minute to change that battery.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, Larry, if the alternator is the problem, how long would it take to change the alternator?
Well, we talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s problems at Daytona. Those guys had worked it out where they thought under caution at Daytona now, that's a 2.5-mile racetrack, they thought they could change it out under caution without losing a lap. That will never happen, I don't think, here at Texas, because this is only a 1.5-mile racetrack. But I think if there's a car out there that wants a caution, it would be the 42 car, because right here, with this many laps to go, they could put a fresh battery in that car and be able to go the distance.
While Jeff made that report, you saw Casey Kane go back into the lead. Darrell, this young fella just will not be denied today.
Oh, yeah. No, the car is so fast. It's so good. He's been able to drive it wherever he wants to. When he catches somebody, he doesn't mess around very long. He gets right on by them. This car is just phenomenal today. Every now and then you get one like that. Take advantage of it.
22nd lead change today. The record for Texas, 29 lead changes among 17 drivers. But look at in the center of the oval, next to Casey's picture, look at how that gap keeps opening up over Joe Nemechek and the rest of this field.
I mean, that last lap, Casey Kane beat Joe Nemechek by 1/2 second. Casey Kane is still running in the 29-second bracket this far into this race.
I know. If you called me and said, okay, what do you want to do to it? I say, man, leave it alone. Don't do anything to it.
But, Mike, if we indeed do go green, remember, we have one final pit stop. We've seen it all day long. This is where you go to those pit crew guys and you say, look, 5 off, 5 on. We can't have any mistakes. You preach the same thing to that driver about getting on the pit road.
The other thing is normally race cars, Everhands cars, they don't get great gas mileage. They're making a lot of steam, but you burn a lot of fuel doing it.
Kurt Busch right now in position to take the point lead from his Roush teammate Matt Kenseth. Jack Roush's cars, winners of 3 of 7 so far here in Texas. I've been watching this the last 3 laps. Robbie Gordon keeps trying to find a hole between Dale Jarrett and Jeff Green. He's finally got one to get through.
Yeah, Robbie Gordon in the 31 and Dale Jarrett, they're racing for 18th position, 1 lap down. Now Jeff Green in the 43 car, he's 2 laps down back in 24.
That was too close for comfort over the last 4 or 5 laps. I'm glad it shook out.
I don't know if it's shaking out or not.
No, maybe not.
Shaking up the way it's going. Oh, Robbie got in there really, really high. Lost a lot of ground.
But you know what, Mike, Darrell, we're here for our 8th race. A lot of heat given to Eddie Gossage, Bruton Smith about you can't race side by side on this racetrack. When I look at the corners, we have a groove 2/3 of the way up this racetrack. So right here at the Great American Speedway, we've got good racing.
Casey Kane trying to dispel that theory as he stepped out to a lead of 2.6 seconds over Joe Nemechek in the Samsung Radioshack 500. The Samsung Radioshack 500 on Fox is brought to you by UPS, official express delivery company of NASCAR. We want to race the truck. People love the truck. 248 laps complete here in Texas. That's Casey Kane out in front of Joe Nemechek by 4 seconds. Jimmy Johnson a further 2 seconds back. Then Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, Elliott Sadler, Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, and Rusty Wallace. The top 10. Nemechek's had a strong day, top Chevy in the race for much of the day. Jimmy Johnson, though, trying to close in on that second-place car. A lot of action in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And the Tundra tail of the tape. Our 2 Craftsman truck owners, Darrell Waltrip and Larry Mack. Right now, Larry leading the points. Carl Edwards, Bobby Hamilton. That's Toyota, Ford, Dodge, Toyota. So we have a contest up, Larry's truck versus Daryl's truck, and we'd like your suggestions at foxsports.com on what a friendly wager ought to be for who's leading the standings by the time we finish up our Fox half of the season at Daytona, 4th of July weekend. Now, of course, it can't be anything of monetary value, but I'm sure we can come up with something.
You know what the moral of the story is here? I think you need to get a second truck.
You got me surrounded, but he already owes me a steak dinner.
Well, that's true. That's true.
He already owes me from Atlanta. I got the pole. I told him I was going to get it.
I think it ought to be something like each other's butler for a day or something. What do you think?
I ain't shining those dirty shoes, I can tell you that.
Well, where are you going to be 2 weeks from Saturday?
I'm going to be at Martinsville up in my number 11 Toyota Tundra.
And where will I be?
And you'll be up in the stand or up in the tower spotting for me, and Hammond will be sitting on the pit box.
And let's see, with our bet, it'll be DW, 24 truck coming, let it by.
No way.
Car number 9 has a long history of going to victory lane. Bill Elliott first won in a number 9 car in 1983 at age 28 out of Riverside, California. Beat Benny Parsons for his first Winston Cup win. In 1952, Donald Thomas won at Atlanta's Lakewood Speedway in a number 9 at age 20. The youngest driver ever to win in a car numbered 9. He was driving a Hudson Hornet.
But you know what? I'm going to be very anxious to see here, guys. We're at lap 253. We talked a while ago. These guys pitted at 199. They're going to have to stretch it to about 265, 266 to know that they can make it to the end should we stay green.
And you talk about the number 9, Mike. I mean, this is reminiscent of Bill Elliott back in the 80s when he drove the number 9 and just lapped the field every week. 85, he won like 12 races.
We see Nemechek, and here is Jimmy Johnson, who's currently 3rd. He's not been able to close in. He was about 5.8 seconds back when we came back from break. Now he's 6.3 off the lead. Greg Biffle within sight of Jimmy Johnson, about 1.8 seconds behind Jimmy in this Ford. And in 5th place, Jeff Gordon, 9 seconds off the lead.
This thing has gotten really tight. Not on the exit. The exit's good. It's just getting in and right before the center and in the center.
And of course, Robbie Loomis's challenge is going to be to make that thing turn better getting into the center, but it don't sound like Jeff Gordon wants it to turn any better on the exit of the corner. They got to be careful and not get him loose off.
Yeah, I think I might just want to tell the driver to deal with that.
Especially since you probably only may have one more opportunity to fix it. You don't want to not fix it.
Yeah.
Unfix it.
6th place car, Elliott Sadler, the 2nd Ford in the race behind Biffle. And in 7th, man who led 23 laps or 26 laps at the top of the day, Bill Elliott, sitting in 6th, 10.5 seconds off the lead. Now, Matt Kenseth has just made a pit stop. Jeremy Mayfield coming to pit road, so we're back into a green flag cycle of stops once again. 8th place, 17 seconds out of 1st, is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Haven't heard a lot out of Junior today. He's just been kind of riding along here in the top 10. Good points day based on the Kenseth's problems.
Hope you caught our Busch race yesterday where Dale Jr. sat in one of the Fox production trucks and ran the onboard camera for his driver Martin Truex. Had a little bit of fun with what has to be the world's most expensive video game.
You know, we're riding here with Rusty Wallace, who started 10th on the day and led this race just a little bit in the beginning, made a 2-tire stop, a little bit of a gamble by Larry Carter, and at one point he was on the verge of going a lap down, but he's made a nice rebound here to move back into the top 10. And right behind him is another guy that started the day off not too good, Tony Stewart, in his 20 car. He's up to 10.
And you want to look at Casey Kane just caught up with Jamie McMurray, and he's not mad and he's not trying to get even, but McMurray's not going to pull over and let him go by either. And that's kind of like one of those, I'm sending you a subtle message.
Remember last week when those two got together at Bristol.
I think Casey will probably be very cautious in this situation.
And Darrell, we looked at the tape several times. it's really hard to place blame on either Casey Kane or Jamie McMurray, even though Kane got the worst end of that deal.
Yeah, the four car, or the 01 car, when it Larry was up in the outside groove. I think that Casey ran up on the back of him. You could see that McMurray had a run on Casey to his door and let him go.
Now, guys, the first of our leaders is on pit road, Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Now, with pitting right here, it'd be very questionable. Can he go? I think it would be about 74 laps to the end. I don't think he could make it, Daryl, so that's an indication he'd have to make another stop.
Casey Kane will pit next time by, and I agree, Daryl. Clearly, there was room for give and take on both drivers' parts, but it'd be hard to lay the blame completely on any one driver in that situation.
Yeah, you could see that McMurray had his fender all the way up to the door, and he saw the traffic, and he saw there was going to get close. Looked like he was going to let Casey down, and they just clipped.
And Darryl, you talked about it in the beginning. The Evernham cars did not get that good of fuel mileage. Bill Elliott, the 91, he's on pit road, and here comes his teammate, the leader of this race, at least for right now, Casey Kane in the 9, and a whole bunch of them following him.
Boy, I tell you what, he comes in slow. Maybe it's just my perception, but sure looks like he comes in.
I think you're right. That opened the gate. Jimmy Johnson's in. Joe Nemechek. Here's Dick.
Jimmy Johnson won just a couple of weeks ago at Darlington. Same crew, different car. He took just 2 tires last time out. Chad Knauss' crew chief promised him 4 this time around. There's a tad slow on the left rear. And they are rushing to catch a tire. They did catch it before it crossed the line. Matt.
Service already complete on leader Casey Kane's Dodge. No adjustments. The car near excellent. Service also complete on the 01 of Joe Nemechek. In fact, Larry Mack, on the 9 car, they saved their best set of scuffed tires from the final practice session on Saturday for their final run today.
Well, the good thing about that set of tires, Matt, it's been on the car this weekend yesterday, so that means he knows what the characteristics of those tires are going to feel like.
Dale Jarrett is in. Kevin Harvick is in. Jeff Green. As green flag stops continue, and Jeff Gordon has taken over the race lead.
And this time, but come on, in this time, pass through. Watch your pit road speed as you do this.
All right, what that is, that's the communication. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. We saw that tire roll away Dick Bergman talked about. You cannot leave your pit box to all of the equipment is back to the left side of the car. It will be a pass-through penalty. Mike, we've talked about it, mistakes on pit road.